Thank you for this question. Uh, when I think about a virtual machine, I will describe it as a computer that exists through software rather than being a separate physical computer. It can run as an operating system and application just like a physical machine, but it uses resources provided by a physical host through virtualization. There are several important parts that make up a virtual machine. The first is the host machine. The host is the actual physical server that provides resources such as processing power, RAM, storage, and network connectivity. One physical host can support multiple virtual machines, which allows the business to get more value from its hardware. The next important component is the hypervisor. The hypervisor is basically the layer that creates and manages the virtual machines. It determines how resources from the physical hosts are assigned to each VM and also helps keep the different virtual machines separated. There are two common types of hypervisors. A type 1 hypervisor is run directly on the on physical hardware. Microsoft's Hyper-V and VMware ESXi are examples of this type and are commonly used in business environments. A Type 2 hypervisor runs on top of an existing operating system and is often useful for testing and development. Another part of a virtual machine is virtual hardware. This includes things like virtual CPUs, virtual RAM, virtual hard drives, and virtual network adapters. From the from the perspectives of the operating system, these virtual components work much like the physical components of a regular computer. Then we have the guest operating system. This is the operating system that is installed inside the virtual machine. It could be Windows servers, Windows, Linux, or another supported operating system. Once the guest operating system is running, an administrator can install applications, configure services, create users, and manage the system just like a physical computer. One of the major advantages I see with virtual machine is that they allow different systems to operate independently on the same physical hardware. If one VM needs to be restarted or has a problem, the other virtual machine can generally continue running. That provides a useful level of isolation. Now, if I were working in a business environment, I will use virtualization in several ways. One of the first thing I would consider is server consolidation. A company doesn't necessarily need a separate physical server for every service. Multiple virtual servers could run on the physical host. This can reduce the amount of hardware the components the company needs and also lower costs associated with electricity, cooling, and maintenance. And I would also use virtualization to improve resource utilization. Instead of allowing a physical server to sit mostly unused, its processing power, memory, and storage can be shared among several virtual machines. This allows the organizations to use its infrastructure more efficiently. Um, Another important application is testing. For example, before applying a major software update or changing a server configuration, I could test the change inside the virtual machine. If the change causes a problem, it can be dealt with in that isolated environment before it affects the production system. Virtualization is also useful for disaster recovery. Virtual machines can be backed up and restored, and in some environments, they can be moved to another physical host. So, if a physical server fails, the organization has a better opportunity to restore its services and reduce downtime. I will also use virtualization when a business needs to scale its infrastructure. If the organization needs another server, creating a new virtual machine can be much faster than purchasing, installing, and configuring another physical server. For example, an organization could have separate virtual machine for different roles, such as a domain controller, file server, application server, or testing server. Separating these workloads can make the environment easier to manage and troubleshoot. Uh, as an administrator, though I wouldn't simply create virtual machines without considering the organization's requirements. I will look at available CPU and memory storage capacity, network requirements, security, backups, and business continuity before deciding how to design the virtual environment. Overall, I see virtualization as a way of making IT infrastructure more efficient, flexible, scalable, and cost effective. It gives an organization the ability to run multiple systems on shared physical resources while also providing useful options for testing, recovery, and expansion. So the main components I would identify are the host machine, hypervisor virtual hardware, and guest operating system. From a business perspective, I will use virtualization for server consolidation, better resource utilization, testing, disaster recovery, scalability, and easier management of IT resources. Thank you for your time. I will be happy to answer any follow-up questions. Thank you.